Does Anakin have autism? Yes. Yes, he does.
Do you think Anakin Skywalker has autism? Do you think
No,
that? That's
no.
interesting. We're live now, by the way, guys. Just to,
Yeah,
we are live.
Yeah,
I
just not the
don't think
stream
so.
of does Anakin have autism?
No, I don't think he has autism
Do
control.
you know what? It is a really. I did think about autism because, like I say, like in my world, mentoring and being involved in education, like mentor, coach, it's very interesting because obviously, people talk about autism, educators talk about autism, and it is a spectrum. So you can pick out children with a little bit of autism. You think, oh, there's some autism there, but it's it's not too much, not that intense. And then you go towards the middle. It's like, okay, there's some strong traits in, but again, it's nothing over, nothing dramatic, but you can still see. And then you get ones that are very autistic, highly neurodivergent. Um, and it is like they say, Richard, and things like Robert. You do get, like, you have to explain certain things, and it's very literal. And if there's sort of the nuances aren't there. But it's really interesting because they don't get nuance. But they're some of the most intelligent people and children that you actually ever meet. They're so super smart, really smart, but very literal. And so certain nuances and certain sort of jokes and things like that just you have to really explain it. And it's like, and then half the time they're not that impressed. But it's just one of those things. But Anakin, I'm not sure. I never really looked at Star Wars and thought that Anakin's like, oh yeah, he's autistic. But there are characters he shows that are like very autistic, and you can kind of tell.
It's probably. Oh, hi. Hope you are. Yeah, we are. I think
Hello
I
there.
think the only real trait that I would connect from Anakin to someone autistic is the emotional immaturity. Like that, they get an emotion and they act on it. They have poor self-control when it comes to emotions.
Yeah.
That's the only one that I would really connect Anakin with autism. That's beyond that is nothing really.
I mean, if you look at the mental health aspect of Anakin, it's obviously the trauma and the loss that is
Yeah.
an issue for him, 100%. And I blame, and we did. I think we said this a little bit on the last of our end of our previous episode, which was a few weeks ago now.
Yeah.
That Yoda, I felt Yoda was a poor leader when it comes to his
Oh
stewardship
yeah.
of young Anakin. I thought he was very very poor, and I thought like he was like almost like a headmaster, sort of that sort of like head teacher thing. Of very much is knowledgeable, he's okay running things overall, but it is not. It wasn't very pastoral. It wasn't like, okay, that nurturing. Like, this kid's really struggling. I can feel that something's not right with him. We need to. I can't just preach to him Jedi doctrine and canon. I need to just figure out. This is a heart issue. What's going on with him? Why is he having all these weird nightmares? What And all he gives to him is like a sermon or a lecture. Like, oh, train yourself to let go of that which you fear to lose. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's going to need more than a lecture, mate. This kid's not
He
quite right.
Anakin would have needed Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh my god.
There's a pretty, I think it's kind of long, like an hour long video on like a what if
Yeah,
Qui-Gon Jinn lived.
yeah,
Because Qui-Gon Jinn is like that. He is the stern but still kind father figure that Anakin would have needed instead of Obi-Wan, who turned out to be more of a brother type that didn't have the
yeah,
um, gusto to like really nail down, hey, you're doing something wrong, let's fix it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Qui-Gon Jinn would have been more that instead of the Obi-Wan brotherhood that they had.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally
Would,
100% agree with that.
would people say that it's just really the main three characters, potentially Luke to start with, then Anakin, and then Rey? That I suppose is sort of, when you think of like mental health within Star Wars, that they're the only people that really follows maybe the ups and downs. Because most of the characters, side characters like Han Solo, you don't really see him sort of go any sort of like up and down battle or mental health battle, you could say. You don't see that, like, say, lots of the side characters like Lando's or lots of
I think
those
you,
key three characters.
yeah, I agree, but I think you followed that same kind of development in Andor, Cassian Andor.
Yeah, yeah,
Jin
yeah,
for a little bit in her movie. She
yeah.
has this line in Rogue One where she is ready to give up because she's
Mm.
been fighting for 15 years and she's just like, nah, fuck this, I'm done. But
Yeah,
Andor comes in and just like, nope, we're gonna keep fighting, right? And then there's also, I guess, to some extent, the Mandalorian.
yeah,
He got excommunicated, I suppose,
mm.
for
Mm.
showing his face,
Yeah.
and that probably left some PTSD. But that's not as
Intense sort of thing.
Do I feel like none of the characters in Star Wars, let's be honest, have a happy story that if they're a main character.
No, no, I think it's so true. I mean, the thing is, I suppose in a way, I think Richard's been frozen in
Yeah,
carbonite,
I
but
was
he'll
trying to
be.
carry on talking as he froze. I was trying
He's,
to
he
make it
got
less
frozen.
noisy
He
for
got
him.
frozen in carbonite, but he's all
am I
right.
He's back.
back?
Yeah.
Am I back?
You're back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
You were Han Solo in the Empire Strikes Back, and you're like, oh.
I wasn't trying to cut you off. I was trying to help because you just suddenly froze.
No,
It was
I didn't hear
either
anything. It just
it was
froze
either the
everything.
internet connection or
Yes.
man, Richard's really thinking about this.
No, it was my internet connection, I think. No, I said that you are correct, and the main focus on emotional is probably Rey, Luke, and Anakin, and then Darth Vader, which is his like alter ego.
Alter ego, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Obi-Wan TV show was very. It had a lot of critics,
Yeah.
and people were uncomfortable with some aspects of that show. But it did highlight the sort of mental torment of Obi-Wan really well, like really, really well,
Absolutely.
and also sort of the part. I mean, it was a bloody heartbreaking. The part where obviously when Obi-Wan gets the upper hand in the fight and then smashes the mask, Vader's mask,
Yeah.
and you see Anakin's face there, and he's talking to him. It's like, and he just freezes. He goes, Anakin, because he's like, recognizes the face. It's like, oh my gosh, and it just broke. It just broke Obi-Wan. He's like, oh my gosh, it's you. Um, and he wanted to, even then, he wanted to reach out to him and say, come on, mate, just stop this now. Come on, like, just forget all of it.
Yeah.
Um,
That reminds me of in Rebels when Ahsoka confronts Vader, and the same
yeah,
thing happens.
yeah,
The helmet gets slashed, and um, I think he says something in the lines of "I killed Anakin"
yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
And there's a lot of emotions there as well. Ahsoka also battles with emotions.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
So,
So,
question: you guys know of the Star Wars universe in more depth than myself. Let's be honest. In real life, if you want to be like lots of kids want to be a Premiership football, lots of people love the idea of being Premiership. Like, is there anyone in Star Wars that like would say as a character that just really wanted to be a Jedi, that became a Jedi without any sort of sad backstory, as bad as it sounds? Because normally, everyone that we sort of see in these key films, they've had like this situation where they've always been forced to be a Jedi, or is something like that, or it's like Anakin, his whole situation of his mom and the rest of it. Is there ever like a Jedi that's just literally just really wanted to, become a Jedi, worked their backside off, you could say, and then become a Jedi, if you get me?
mm,
I mean, the thing is, and like, probably Richard, who's like the law keeper of Jedi canon. I suppose my
I don't
understanding,
think there's yeah, I don't think there's a clear example of that in
yeah,
canon. Maybe there's something in. Ooh, hold up.
I'm just thinking that say if it was like, say if the Jedi's were real in this world, you'd have kids that literally when they were 5 and going, "Oh, I'd love to be a Jedi." Do you know what I mean? I'm just
Yeah.
saying, but so you just think that there'd be like someone that's a Jedi that literally just like had the abilities and just like, do you know what I mean? Really wanted to mind
well,
sort of
well,
training.
there is a nuance. So there are people in the Star Wars universe, and Richard, I know you will know more about this, that are force sensitive. That you wouldn't say they're a Jedi per se,
Yeah,
but there are lots of different people, humanoids, including alien species, that are,
Yes.
but say you would think of them as humanoids, even though they're aliens, that are force sensitive.
Yeah.
And so if you go down that road, you could say, again, a little bit like the autism stuff, you could say it's a bit of a spectrum on the force
Yeah.
sensitivity. So you'll get some people that are got a
Yes.
little bit of force sensitivity, but they're not really going to be doing too much with it. And then you get down the middle and then towards the far end of it, where it's like, okay, these ones now, you could, if they were picked up early enough by the Jedi, they could have been trained into being Jedi, for example.
What about if
Um,
it flips on its head with the Sith? Because the Sith, let's be
so
honest, you'd
I
think it
have an
would.
example about that. Actually, it's way easier with the Sith because
Yeah, that's what I thought it would be. Because they're sort
those
of
kind of
a bit
motions
evil.
draw you. Yes, yes, those kind of motions draw you towards the Sith. But someone who grew up um, damaged and then wanted to become a Jedi is Sabine Wren.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
From the Rebel series and
Yeah. Yeah.
from Ahsoka. She grew up, well, fighting, damaged, and then she is force sensitive. She's not excellently force sensitive. She's like below average, I would say. She's not very powerful at all. Um, but she wants to be a Jedi, and Ahsoka trains her. Um, but I mean, even if she became a Jedi, she would be below average for sure.
Yeah. But
So
once again,
that's an example. Yeah.
there's no, like, say Sith, for instance, that just thought, "Do you know what, like, say like a teenager that, know how you get like teenagers in this world where perhaps someone that causes trouble at school, a bit like a bullying, do you know what I mean? A bit like a wild card. There's no one in the Sith that once again is just sort of become a Sith because they're sort of that rebellious person who's got these powers and sort of just wants to sort of,
I
go
would
with it,
all
I'd say.
I would go so far as to say almost every single one of them is that. Especially people like Bane.
Yeah.
Uh, Bane was he grew up on uh, I don't remember the name of the planet, but he was
Yeah. I'm not
growing
sure.
up mining cortosis, which is a metal in
Mm.
Star Wars that they build like stormtrooper armor from and spaceships and everything. It's just a good ass metal, really durable, really good metal. Um, he grew up on that planet for I think he stayed there for 19 years. And then it's like he was relentlessly abused by his dad
Mm.
from the time he was able to understand what his dad was doing. He was just relentlessly bullied, and then he killed his dad in his sleep because he was just, please have a heart attack, please have a heart attack, please. Like he's chanting this, and then the Dark Force, the Dark Side intervened and
Mm.
crushed his dad's heart. Uh, and then even more shit happened. He was abused by other miners because they blamed him for his dad's death because they knew him, friends, and everything. He got assaulted by some um, what do you call it? Uh, not not rebels, but Republic, old Republic soldiers. They assaulted him, and he killed them. And just pure hand-to-hand combat, killed like four of them, I believe, or five.
Mm.
So then he joined the Empire, or back then the Dark Brotherhood. He was abused by his officers. Like everything is just abuse, 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 abuse. And so he joined the Sith because they recognized his Sith power or his dark side powers.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that's most of the Sith are either insanely emotionally immature,
Yeah.
or they are narcissistic, power hungry assholes, or they have been insane. I'm in fingers, but I'm not showing them. Or they, or thirdly, they have been abused like
Yeah.
nothing else, and
Mm.
they join the dark side because they think that, well, hey, I can just join the dark side and get power so I can fix my abuse. That's
Yeah. You
not.
get revenge. You can get revenge essentially. It's
Yeah, but
like,
that's not gonna heal you. So.
So on a different note than the Star Wars universe, let's be honest. In the real world, I know it's a dodgy subject, but there's racism. Is there anything in Star Wars where there's ever sort of an element of racism, whether it's between species or anything
Oh
where,
yes.
like,
Yeah,
because
we covered this. We covered this a little briefly last time, right at the end of our previous episode. So, guys, if you're watching this on the this is Christian Fandom Geek, and again with Richard and Rob. This is part two. So they'll know you guys because we did a previous episode probably about a month ago, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Talk about morality in Star Wars. So this is a part two of that. So we're talking about some of the moral tropes and some of the interesting complexities from a moral level to do with the Star Wars universe. And we did hearken briefly towards Richard. You mentioned about some of the races that were explicitly racist, and that was
Oh
written
yeah.
into the story. So
Oh yeah.
give us a reminder of that again, Richard, because that was really interesting. On that.
Yes. So everyone thinks of the Sith as the dark side or
Yeah.
the religion of the dark side.
Mm.
But if you, this is not canon anymore, but expanded universe, if you roll back history, the Sith name originates from their home planet of Korriban, where the Sith species lived. And they are insanely racist to the level that if you're like, it's almost like Nazi Germany. Anyone who had like even 10% Jewish blood were like, you're vile. You may live because it's only 10%, but you're vile. Okay. So anyone who is not a pure blood Sith were mistreated like nothing else. They had to fight even harder to get into the Sith Academy at the time. Like the more non-Sith you were, the harder you had to fight, and some were just straight out disregarded because.
So I'm guessing, sorry, that all of these Sith, therefore, on that planet had the Jedi powers or Sith powers.
Yes, they were. That species was extremely sensitive. I don't think. I'm not sure if they. No, they maybe exist still. I'm not sure, but I can show you.
So, going down this point of view, if the Sith had, you could say, a Sith planet, did the Jedi ever have come from like a Jedi planet, or
Yes.
what was it? Because
That's covered slightly in Rogue One, isn't it? Slightly. You don't get a lot of it.
Sith would be Korriban.
Yeah.
For the Jedi.
How do we? If we're talking about the religion, it would be Tython, which is near the center of the galaxy of Star Wars. So that's where the religion of the light side and the dark side emerged, which was at the time called Ashlan and Bogan, because they had two moons, one light moon and one dark moon. So they named it after them. But that's where the Force usage came from, Tython. But if we're talking about like the capital of the Sith and the Jedi, it is. I think it's pretty accurate to say it's Korriban and Coruscant. Because on Coruscant you have the Jedi Temple, the biggest one. Even though maybe Jedi came from elsewhere in the start, that's where they had a Coruscant for like, I don't know, 15,000 years. That's their home base.
Very interesting.
Then,
One of the things I would love to talk about with you guys is, okay, so there's a couple of things I want to talk about. One would be the interesting morality that we get in Star Wars to do with the Mortis arc. That is seen.
Let me 1 second. Let me show you. How do I share my screen? There, share screen.
See if it works. So this StreamYard. It might not do it. Oh, hang on. Oh, hang on.
That is a Sith species.
Oh, okay.
That is a Sith individual, I suppose.
They look happy folk.
They look like this Sith pureblood, and here's all the racist shit you can read about Sith.
But
That
uh,
guy, go back up. That guy, that guy. Or if you go back up again, more, scroll back up. He was in him. Which one is that one? Because he was in that video game. I remember that trailer that came
Star
out, and it
Wars,
was
yep, Star Wars Online.
that
He
was
is
so
in the
good. That was so
that
good.
is from the cinematic. Uh, Spoiler alert: he dies in the cinematic. But it is that entire cinematic is chef's kiss. It is so good.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
amazing.
that's it.
So good. That was good. Um, so yeah, the Mortis arc in Clone Wars. The reason why I mention that is because um, of and this goes into the religion aspect of it even deeper as well. The idea of there was like the father, the son, and the
it's like
daughter.
religion, really, isn't it? A bit like religion for Jedi's.
It was really interesting because that whole arc of stories, those three stories, were very, very interesting to do. Going on this weird planet that seemed almost like a sort of synthetic machine type thing. It didn't even seem like a natural planet at all.
No,
And then the whole connection between these three entities, and the idea of bringing in these sort of anthropomorphic religious figures, because obviously in Star Wars we're used to the Force being very sort of a sort of
dis
this sort of energy
distant,
field. Yeah,
distant.
energy field. There's no personhood to it at all. And so that was the first time I think I remember sort of seeing a scenario of seeing um, anthropomorphic figures that had these sort of powers that were, if you think of it as Marvel, they're like these guys they're like cosmic level entities. They're not just like Sith or Jedi. They're cosmic level. They don't they could, but unless they're killed, they're potentially immortal. They just go on forever.
I
I
think they
think
are fundamentally even immortal because, like, if you kill them, they're just aspects of the Force and manifestations of the Force. They could
yeah,
probably like be reborn later
yeah,
or something. Yeah.
yeah,
The thing that I
and so
totally found interesting about the arc when I looked at it, because I looked at it early, because I realised I hadn't looked into watched that series where it was mentioned, was that once again you've got the dad who sort of a bit like keeps the balance between the son that's the evil one, a bit like the Sith side you could say, and then the daughter that's the good one. I did think myself it's sort of funny that once again it's a bit like that stereotype, isn't it? Years ago we used to have everything like so like girls are like sugars and spice and all things nice, whatever the thing was years ago, and I can't remember what the boy version was. But I'm saying it's that stereotype, isn't it, where the woman is sort of the pure sort of good represents all the good, and potentially the guy represents all of the bad. Which I do think the self is a bit
well,
controversial.
yeah, I mean, but I suppose when you think of a lot of religions and I'm not very new age, but I do find the new age stuff quite interesting actually. And the new age is always going about things like this. They talk about the masculine energy, male energy being very dominant, very order driven, but very dominant, and can be sometimes quite oppressive to the female energy that is more nurturing, more sensual. But it's like that kind of not having that same sort of dominance, and so and a lot of religions they do kind of tap into that where you want to the idea of balance. I guess it's the idea of you don't want your society to be too male energy, but you don't want it to be too female energy. You want to have a balance, and I think that's what the
S
Eastern religions get at, and I think that's what Star Wars is kind of getting at as well, in a way, which is quite interesting.
Speaking of motherly love, have you guys heard of Abeloth?
Yeah, because she's not motherly and not loving in the slightest. She's an absolute beast, monster, and predator.
So let me explain this to Rob.
Yeah,
So we're talking about the father, the son, and the daughter.
yeah.
Well, where's the mother? Well, that's Abeloth.
Oh, okay.
So the son, the daughter, and the father, they are immortal beings, right?
Yeah,
The mother, I don't remember her original name, but she became like destitute. She was like, shit, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna lose my family. I don't want to do this shit. This sucks. and she became like irrational and desperate, pretty much.
Yeah.
So she there was this I would maybe you can call it fountain, but like just a pool of just pure force energy, and she was just like, they usually like bathe in this shit. What happened if
Yeah.
I do that shit? She walked in and she just went insane. She absorbed too much power, she became insanely powerful,
Yeah.
and went mentally insane because it was too much for
Okay.
her mortal mind to fathom. So she did become immortal. She just became a monster as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share my screen again.
It
Yeah,
reminds me a
Uh,
bit of God. You
she's
know,
she's she's not a looker. I'll put it that way.
no,
it
she is
reminds me
not
a
a
bit of
looker.
in Guardians of the Galaxy. You know how Star Lord's dad is like bit like suit like bit almost a bit like a god, isn't he? Regards his powers and all the rest of it, and he sleeps with like a mortal, you could say, which then makes him. And so that it sounds sort of similar in regards to that way, where it's sort of like the god sort of sleeps with like, a bit like a mortal and ends up with that.
Yeah, that's Abeloth.
So
I don't know if she is canon anymore,
I'm
but
single, but I've got some standards.
it was hinted at in the Ahsoka series that
yes, there was thought that she'd
Morgan,
turn up.
yeah, Morgan Elspeth, the witch, the
Yes.
Dathomir witch, she was like going to this other galaxy to find Abeloth.
Mm.
But that just went to a fucking dead end. I was so frustrated. It's
Yeah.
like, yes, Abeloth, hell yeah. And then she's
I
like,
saw it.
nope.
I saw it online on X. Everyone was like, "Oh, she's going to turn up. She's going to be there," and then it's just like, "What?" So, I mean, maybe she turned up in season 2. We don't know, but
Maybe, maybe. But yeah, that's Abeloth. In expanded
yeah, she's a
universe.
friendly girl.
No.
Yeah, pretty woman. Um,
Hope her dentist to the NHS because Jesus.
no. Um, she fought against Luke Skywalker in expanded universe and lost
Ooh.
because Luke Skywalker is a beast. He is like, yeah. If you read about Luke Skywalker's what he can do in the expanded universe, it is just it's it's wicked. That's how I'm gonna put it.
And that's what we wanted in the Last Jedi. That's what we wanted in the Last Jedi.
Are
That's
we
what we
always?
wanted.
Is everyone always disappointed then that considering how Luke served be such a badass that then Ray saying became some sort of ridiculously overpowered superstar, you could say instantly almost. Like, if in that last film where she was destroying everything in the sky almost, it became a bit like the only thing itself not only became a bit like far fetched, but you think self considering Luke was supposed to be this super cool, badass Jedi Knight and the rest of it, it's a bit like, well, she could have just gone and killed him from a distance, basically.
Oh, hang on. Sorry, there's a thing on here. Andrew from
Yeah.
the Science Fictionaries put here. Abeloth is legends only at this
Yeah,
point. We'll be curious if they bring the character. Yeah. So yes.
yeah. That's
Um,
why I said I was hoping she was gonna get brought back in Ahsoka, but
I mean, the thing is, I haven't. I've kind of just read up on expanded universe in terms of just online. I haven't actually bought the books or anything like that. I think I've got a book or two, but I've just more like, well, I've watched videos on some of it as well. To be fair, um, but like she's such an amazing character. Like, why wouldn't you bring her into the actual live action? Like,
Wow.
again, that would be a way to win over some Star Wars fans that maybe is slightly disenfranchised with Star Wars at the moment. Is to bring in some badass characters that Star Wars fans love. That the ones, especially the ones that have gone into the expanded universe, bring her in, and don't deviate too much from the book. Like, just kind of keep it simple, make a badass, make her be
I
able to.
just I just want Bane. Give me Bane.
Hang on, which Bane do you want? Do you want this Bane?
No, I want the Star
Not
Wars Bane, the cool guy, the
that
guy who is a mastermind. I want
Bane.
Bane.
no,
I just want
not
to see what
that.
that Abeloth looks like the rest of her. I mean, based on her like weird squid fingers and her like huge mouth and all
Rob,
stuff.
I know Rob, that you're thinking, man, you'd have a good time with her. Like, and I'm
No,
worried about you, Rob.
I'm thinking
Sometimes.
it's the like she's got squid feet
she,
as
she,
well and all sorts. I was trying to work out if it's like,
Rob, she would break your soul. She would break your soul. Not you.
Jesus.
Don't worry about your body. It's
Yeah,
your
come on,
soul
come
that
on.
you need to
How would
worry
you
about.
how would you even kiss a mouth that's that big?
Oh, you'd find a way.
Open wide.
And the thing is, mate, with someone like that, you can't even say no because man, you ain't saying no. You ain't saying no. So you
She
know,
would
she
she would
you
eat
do
you.
exactly what she says, mate. That's the
Yeah.
I guess I'm just curious based on her squid fingers. I was a bit like, well, okay. I'm trying to work out if she's got any of the weird abnormalities as opposed to the rest of her.
I think it's I,
weird.
I think it's not expired, inspired from like H.P. Lovecraft, outer gods horror, like body horror. Because if you look at like H.P. Lovecraft's gods, they're all like tentacly octopus
Oh, I hate no.
looking.
We have to stop talking about this. I can't deal with octopus. They're disgusting. I don't like them
Oh,
at
okay.
all.
I didn't know you had a thing against octopus. Then okay.
Oh, they're creepy. They have multiple brains.
Yeah,
They're
with all their
weird,
tentacles
weird
smashed
alien
all
creatures.
over you.
Some people have theorized. They said that,
Yeah.
that octopus is the most alien creatures on the planet. Like some people have said, are they from a different planet? Like they've gone that far to say like they're not. They don't fit in with the normal biological sort of life that you get
They do. They
across
do.
the board. They, they don't do. They really
They are
don't.
mollusks. They are mollusks.
I just
Yeah,
think
They
but
that
they're
are
like
they
too.
are they are related to snails and ammonites and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
So
they're too weird. Like their arms, their little tentacles operate independently from the rest of the body. Each one has its own
yeah,
brain. That's
have,
weird, dude.
have you thought
it's
about how
weird.
this conversation has gone? We've gone from starting with
It's too weird. Ugh.
what's it, autistic? Then we've gone from like all these different things to
Okay,
then now octopus. It's
They're so creepy.
okay.
They're too
Should
smart.
we
Creepy.
halfway through the halfway through the video? Should we tackle morality and
Yeah,
stuff?
let's go. Let's because last time we did an hour, and then we thought, oh sugar, we haven't covered it, and then we went on about an hour and 25 minutes, and like the last 20 minutes or so started to
I speed ran everything.
do a slight
Okay.
primer on. So
Yes.
let's bring it home now.
Yes.
Go into the morality of Star Wars. We can talk about. So Richard, why don't you? Okay, give us a bit of a primer, especially for
Okay.
those who will watch the video who are not. Who obviously everyone that watches Christian Fandom Geek is quite bright, but some of the terms and especially from a semantic point of view, they might not know. So if we think
Yes.
about moral systems in the real world, we won't go too deep because it's obviously related to Star Wars. But you're thinking of some general ideas of it could be thinking of a sort of moral realism framework, and we're talking about what is this moral landscape within Star Wars. Would
Yes.
you say, Richard?
It's I think it's very difficult to say. It could be deontological, which
Mm,
means that there are a set of rules in morality that you follow.
mm,
Or it could be like virtue ethics, which is, well, it kind of explains itself. Do that which is virtuous, and
mm,
don't do that which is vice.
mm,
So
yeah.
it could be virtue ethics, but that doesn't really fit with the force being a good and bad.
Mm,
Um, we could be like it could be Kantian in
mm,
grounding
mm,
that you need reasons to do some things, like reason informs your actions. But I
mm,
don't think that either, because the force itself isn't some kind of um, reason imbuing faculty. There's well, they don't have Immanuel Kant in that universe, I don't think.
well, okay.
Uh,
Let me jump in 1 second on that, and then we'll come back to what you're saying, Richard. But I suppose this is where it gets weird, though, because George Lucas, when he brought in the midichlorians, he
yeah,
did bring in a sort of a sort of ontologically Kantian drive that the force working through the midichlorians is going towards a purpose. And you would say maybe there's a Kantian aspect of that. You'd also say with that it's also, but then it's really weird, because you think, well, hang on, does the Kantian aspect of that clash with the consequential aspect of that, where it's going
Yeah,
towards a certain purpose or outworking?
yeah,
um, and they don't, those two theories essentially don't mix that well. The Kantian is
yeah,
more, you do the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing. It's more virtue ethics,
yeah.
and the consequences itself. You want a good consequence, but you're not making the action because of the consequence. You're doing the action because it's the right thing to do.
I mean, Kantianism is a form of deontology. But deontology itself is broader than just Kantian. It's like Kantian is a bit of it, and then deontology is larger. And so
Yeah.
it's a form of deontology, Kantian. But I think
So
if we
Richard,
look
just explain. Just give a simple explanation for deontology for those who don't know.
right, so how do I explain it in as few words as possible? um, yeah, so a moral theory that judges the morality of an action based on whether it aligns with a set of rules or like parameters, um, rather rather than focusing on the consequence of the actions. So it is very separate from consequentialism,
Yeah.
because if we look at, this is also not canon anymore, I believe. I'm not sure. It could be, but I don't think it is. No, it's not, because it's in Darth Plagueis novel, which is not canon. Anyways, so in Expanded Universe, the creation of Anakin Skywalker was
Mm,
the direct result of um, Palpatine, which is Darth Sidious, and Hugo Damask, which is his master Darth Plagueis, they're meddling with the Force. They
mm,
try to forcefully, or like they try to force the Force, I guess, to like give birth to this immensely powerful Force wielder that they could then sway to their side. Which, in a way, they succeeded. Darth Plagueis didn't succeed; he's dead before that happens. But the Force, in retaliation to their meddling, um, made sure that Anakin was born through Shmi
mm,
Skywalker.
mm.
So that leans itself to like some kind of um, deontological balance. Like this talk of balance in the Force is like
Yeah.
it's Buddhistic in foundation, because George Lucas borrowed a lot of his stuff from Buddhism.
Mm,
If I recall correctly, Buddhism is deontological.
mm.
I'm sure there's other ways of looking at Buddhism, but as far
Yeah.
as I've read, it's quite deontological. Um, so yeah, the Force retaliates. Not that the Force is some kind of self-conscious being in itself,
Mhm.
but it's still somehow retaliated with forcing Anakin to come into existence and then create balance through Force.
Yeah, I suppose you could look. You might be able to look at the Force in that sense as almost like a bit of an algorithm in a way, and it has to balance certain things out. And so, systematically, it's like a mathematical sort of algorithm. It will kind of, you feed something in, and if you feed in the wrong information, it then we're like, okay, that actions, we can't run with that action. That's going against
Yeah,
the programming of what's happening here. So the
yeah.
algorithm will be this is coming out instead.
The Star Wars universe is clearly founded on moral realism. I don't think you can argue that moral or morality doesn't exist in the Star Wars universe. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I think that's quite clear, because their actions have immediate and quite severe. repercussions through
Yeah,
the medium of the Force, pretty much.
yeah. So it's like, so in that sense, and it's not like, okay, it's not like how we in the real world we sometimes we're debating whether moral realism, and moral realism is just, are the moral precepts and sort of moral conditioning that we have, is it actually a real thing outside of
Mm.
humanity, outside of human thought?
Yeah.
So essentially, is there right? If we took every human being off the planet, if every creature that has that makes moral judgments left the planet, would morality actually exist? Essentially,
Yeah.
does it exist
That's yeah.
independently
That
of
yeah.
us? That's so. If it does exist independently of us, then it's more platonic. Like maybe we kind of tap into it. So it's
Yeah.
either coming from a sort of platonic realm, or it's coming from God,
Yeah.
and we're kind of tapping into this force.
Or virtue ethics or deontology. There's a bunch of different.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, there's another way of looking at it. You could
Yeah.
do a bottom up. You could go bottom up and say it's part of the fabric of the universe or part of the fabric of
Yeah.
reality. It's woven into the code of the universe in some way.
Yeah.
Um,
Do,
Almost like the laws of nature in a way.
No.
You could you
Rob
do we
wants to
do we
say something.
sort of feel though that, let's be honest, in, we've got the I can't remember what the what's it called, arc again, with between the dad,
more
the
to the
twins.
Mortis
Mortis.
Yeah,
arc.
Mortis.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel that, like, say you've got the Sith, which are always like sort of the evil ones, a bit like dictators, then you've got the Jedi, which are the good. Obviously, let's be honest, and then you've got the Empire, which one's kind of like a bit more like a dictatorship, and then the Rebels, which are good. Do people think that in the Mortis arc, let's be honest, you've got the sort of the dad that gives the balance? Would it not have they not have explored where you've got this Jedi and Sith? Then once again, like someone in the middle that sort of tries to maybe balance the two, apart from just then the Jedi trying to have their one that's like the prophecies, whatever. Do you know what I mean? A bit like another race, like where you've got the Jedi planet, potentially the Sith planet to start with, or is not like another race that potentially, or would that be something that would otherwise be good for Star Wars to explore? A bit like someone that's, yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
You have a good point there. This is where there's conflict in the lore, because George
Mm.
Lucas explicitly said that using the light side is intrinsically not pushing the force into unbalance, while using the dark side is intrinsically corrupting and pushing the force into unbalance, or imbalance rather.
Mm.
But then you look at like his comments on the the active Jedi during the first, second, and third movie. He said they were in balance or unbalanced. Um, they were acting hypocritical. They weren't maintaining balance. They were. I mean, someone like Dooku before he turned to the Sith, uh, he was quite violent and quite holier than thou attitude towards other people. So that they were already failing. So that's why people think that well maybe the middle path is the correct path, like the father um in the Mortis arc. But the father isn't really, if we follow what George Lucas said, the father isn't really a mix of the two. He's just light side, and the son is dark side.
Mm.
But he's more experienced than both of them, so he knows that you can't just force the dark side away. You have to struggle with it. You have to overcome it. You have to uh, not really suppress it, but like deal with it,
Mm.
overcome it in a way. Um,
Yeah,
and that's not a quick fix, because the quick fix is the dark side, not the light side.
yeah. The struggle, I suppose, then the struggle of, and I suppose you do see with Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy, and then you do see with Kylo Ren in the sequel trilogy. You
Yep.
see, and it actually, I think I mentioned this last time when we on the first episode we did together. I was amazed that they actually showed Kylo Ren struggling with the pull of the light side, that the light side's trying to pull him away from the dark side,
Yep.
and that he was in emotional turmoil because of it.
Yep.
Um, And that was really interesting. I thought that was one of the things in the Force Awakens that they did well. I was like, oh,
It is. I most people that I talk to that are critics of the sequels, which I am as well,
hmm,
we collectively enjoy Kylo Ren because Adam Driver, excellent actor,
yeah,
so good,
yeah,
and the story for Kylo in the first movie is actually really compelling.
yeah. I think so. I agree. I agree.
He's swayed to the dark side. The dark side is corrupting because it's morally bad. Um, that's why the Sith have red eyes, and their bodies fall apart. Like if you look at Darth Sidious, he's all like gangly and
Mm,
um, uh, his body decays faster than it should.
mm,
He's like weak physically and everything. That's due to his dark side usage,
mm,
but it's also highly addictive. So that's why, like, I guess that's why Kylo is so addicted to the dark side. But then he also feels this pull towards the light side because, well, he's a Skywalker.
mm.
He he's gonna be pulled to the light side.
Yeah.
I don't know. I disagree. I'm not a big fan of Kylo Ren. I'll be honest. Adam Driver. I just feel like,
No,
say, I feel if you look at Luke, for instance, in like say like Empire Strikes Back, he's got all this emotional stuff going on, and I just think that one you really sort of pulls on your heartstrings of almost. I think with Kylo Ren and Adam Driver, I just feel like it's when he's supposed to be having this like moral conflict almost before he kills Solo. I just don't feel that he's sort of, to me, he still comes a bit across a bit, I don't know, wimpy and stuff like that. He doesn't come across that same sort of, make like really makes you sort of like feel it or believe it. It's like say like Luke did all those years ago. I don't know. I just felt like as an actor, I just didn't think he was like, literally was like blew my mind. I just felt it's a bit like, but maybe I was also because I felt like the character as a whole. I just felt like when he sort of betrays Kylo Ren, this big dark badass and the rest of it, then when he becomes a bit like so a bit let's be honest, a bit like a kid, let's be honest, who sort of have his like moral dilemmas. I just felt like he didn't sort of come across then as maybe the big baddie that maybe first of all he was portrayed as. Maybe that's why he became across a bit
Yeah, but Rob,
maybe.
I think for me, yeah, Kylo Ren and Adam Driver, like the way he was played, even obviously initially when he's wearing the mask, there's got that helmet on his head, he's very intimidating, like very intimidating. And then obviously when he takes it off, the intimidation obviously goes away because obviously when you see a face, you can kind of it's humanized now. You've got a face to it. It's like, oh, okay. But I still feel that when the mask comes off, he's intriguing. It's like, oh, okay, what's going on with this dude? You get more intrigue there. Whereas at first, it's just pure intimidation. I mean,
I wanna connect this to Marvel actually. So if we look at someone like Thanos,
mm,
for me, the intimidation factor from Thanos is, well, insanely powerful,
mm,
um, insanely steadfast and ideological. It's like there's
mm,
nothing you can do to change his mind.
mm,
But the most intimidating part for me is that he's relatable and he's humanoid. He has a human face. You see
mm,
the emotions, and
mm,
that's what I really like that in Kylo Ren because yes, the mask is really intimidating, but when he takes it off, you realize it's just a kid, right?
mm,
It looks 20 years old, maybe
mm,
25, and it's just a kid, and it's just like, oh shit, that can happen to anyone. Anyone can be swayed and manipulated to the dark side by in this well, in the first movie it was Snoke, but then we realized later it's Palpatine. You.
which was a huge mistake. But
Yeah,
whatever.
but like because he's a kid and there's a human face behind the mask, you're like, oh
Mm,
shit, this guy's relatable.
mm,
I could be in that position if I am convinced by someone, right? So
mm.
I find that like really that gets me in a way.
I think with that film as a whole, I just felt like they tried to go for so many like safe options in regards to a bit like he's the son of two of the main characters that everyone liked. They've got like a bit like equivalent of a Death Star again, and all this. I felt like they've gone through like lots of roads again, as if to try and make it almost have an element of connection or to the previous like classic films that everyone's loved,
100%.
rather than sort of taking a film and thinking, do you know what, we can have some of these previous characters in it that we like everyone loved, but let's then think of how we're going to go forwards now and do something different. I just felt like they tried to almost have an element of playing it safe and have an element of trying to just pull on the strings by having it. Oh, I know. Well, whose family member can we have it connected to? Oh, I know. Leia and Solo. It's just a lot of
Yeah,
these.
I think they did play it safe. They did play it safe. And I think listen. I will say this:
Yeah,
they did play it safe. J.J. Abrams played it safe. Of course, he did. He leaned into nostalgia, and he
yeah,
was like, right, get all the OT fans back, get all the prequel fans back. I'm going to press into nostalgia, and and I'm going to play it safe, but you're going to have a great time. And if the second and third film were worked out and it was a coherent trilogy and it was consequential, you think of like deontological. No, we don't want it deontological. We want it consequential. We want it to all link together. Where there's a directive and a direction of these sequels, the
yeah,
sequel trilogy. If the second and third film were good or better than good, then I think all three films, including The Force Awakens, would have been looked on favourably because we could have just said, okay, that film has set up a great middle film and a great ending to that sequel trilogy. So actually, it's all good.
yeah,
It's only
If
the fact that the
they,
second two films
yeah,
were struggled so badly and were very controversial and divisive that now we look at even The Force Awakens gets looked on in a negative way. In fact, The Force Awakens played it safe, but it was a decent film. It was a decent film.
I think it's decent. Actually, I want to point on Ben Solo, Kylo Ren.
Hmm.
I think they chose Ben Solo because he's an expanded universe character,
Hmm.
and he is the son of uh,
Yes,
Leia
yeah,
and
yeah,
Han Solo, and he turned to the dark side
hmm.
in expanded universe. He
Yeah,
became a Sith, and
yeah.
he actually, well, this is heavy, really heavy spoilers for the expanded universe. So if you want to mute, plug your ears.
No, well, oh yeah, for everybody else,
Yeah,
if you want
everybody
to read
else. Um,
the book.
Ben Solo kills Luke's wife,
Mm,
Mara Jade.
mm.
If I remember
Magic.
correctly, I think that's what happens.
Yeah,
And then
Oh, they should have brought
Luke,
her into it, Mara Jade. That's the artwork of her
the
character is so good.
Mara Jade is such a
I,
good character.
Great character.
I just think personally, I'd have preferred it if they'd have. I think it's John. Was it? What's he? I can't remember his name.
John
The guy.
Boyega. Yeah.
Yeah, his character. I feel like with his character, he became like the stormtrooper, a bit like a slightly rebellious stormtrooper. Then got into. I think to me, if he'd have then that runaway stormtrooper had then discovered sort of links to like sort of Jedi powers and stuff like that, and I think that would have been a more fun and exciting new twist on the film. Sort of the person who's a bit like just an average stormtrooper, a bit like a baddie in many ways, suddenly finding out and actually sort of turning to the light. I'd have found that would probably be a more interesting sort of like story than just in the whole family element, if you get me. If they'd have
I
had,
That's
if
what I
was,
was going to say.
they'd have
That's
had,
what I was going to
yeah,
say.
I was so pissed. Like, I'm kind of fine with Ortega's character Finn not being a Jedi. I'm okay. They baited us in the trailer.
Oh
That
man, I'm not.
yeah,
I'm not okay with that.
I'm kind of fine with it, but the way Finn was
Terrible.
treated
Terrible.
in The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, such a fucking shame. Really good character in the first movie. This, as you said, rebel story from a defector story from the
Mm.
clone troops from the Empire. Really interesting. We haven't seen that before. Super. Like if they dove deeper into that and looked at the consequences, looked at his emotional baggage from that, but it's
Mm.
just so often in these movies, like it starts with him having a mental breakdown over
Mm.
losing a brother in arms on Jeddah. No, not Jeddah. On Ray's planet. Fuck, what is it called?
Was it Tatooine? No, not
No, it's
Tatooine.
it's not
Oh,
Tatooine.
no, not Tatooine. Where is it? I'll remember in a sec.
Hold on.
You're gonna Google, yeah,
Jakku.
yeah, Jakku.
Yeah, Jakku. If like so he loses his brother in arms on Jakku. 15 minutes later in the movie, he's blasting his brother in arms from his spaceship. He's just
Mm,
shooting everyone. And it's just there's a disconnect here.
mm,
He had a mental breakdown over losing a brother,
mm.
and then he's just massacring them. She's like,
Not an issue to him, not a problem.
I
huh?
think, yeah, I think personally, I think if they'd had, say, John or Finn become a bit like this, the store like a stormtrooper, then becomes a bit like the hero. If they'd have decided to have Ben Solo as a bit like a baddie or something like that, then it'd been a sort of twist at the fact that Han Solo and Leia's son became a baddie or something like that. But if I just think that that'd have been better just to have then a Sith master that was sort of the orchestrating stuff for the three films again, rather than what they did with it. And I just felt like then it would have been like a bit like a story where it's got a bit of a twist about the stormtrooper becomes actually a Jedi, he's got and this and the other and so on. But then it wouldn't have been the fact of then the twists on the the whole family thing. Then it would have been a case of where at the end with the bit like the Palpatine or whatever at the end and so on. It just became just a very much. It just like they're just so desperate to try and bring back or have links to everything previously that it just became almost farcical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
As
part of
I
that.
said, no, go ahead, go ahead.
This is just always to be brief. Part of that is that you can tell that they didn't know where they were going. So when they've penned they've storyboarded the first film, they've not really gone it too deep into the second and the third film as to now. Obviously, and I spoke about this on a solo episode I did recently about what is the future of Star Wars. If you look at obviously certain franchises like Lord of the Rings, for example, with Lord of the Rings, it's easy. Of course, it was. It was easier for Peter Jackson because he's got a book, so he can pick
Three
and
of them.
choose from Lord of the Rings what he wants to put in the three films. That's a lot easier. We have to recognise that for Jackson, it was a lot easier. For anyone that's adapting a book, your source material is the book, so you can pick and choose from the book what you want. If it's gonna be a trilogy of movies, you can pick and choose. That will be in the first film. That will be in the second film. We're not going to put this character in because you're not sure what we're going to do with this one, and whatever. Obviously, when you're writing it, from scratch, which obviously George Lucas and the writers of Star Wars did before previously, um, you have to sort of have an idea, especially if you're going to do a trilogy. Certain things are going to be seeded in seed form in the first or second film that will come to fruition maybe in the final film. So it's that idea of you planting the seeds so that eventually you'll see the fruition of that. And it's like, oh, you get a payoff. It's like, oh, great, that's amazing. Because I remember, and we can remember back to the first episode that we showed a little bit of that, and now we see it coming fully manifested in the third film. Brilliant,
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. They didn't do that. They did not do that at all. So when they started putting in Palpatine and doing weird stuff, it became a MacGuffin. It was like, what is this? What is going on? So everyone's confused. Like, what is going on? Where's this come from? Like actual MacGuffin material. It's like you
Yeah.
can't put MacGuffins in Star Wars. What is going on?
Would you say that
There's
basically Star Wars did a Game of Thrones?
yep,
Where they've gone, it was like where they ran out of material, and so then when writing the end, they basically fudged it up.
pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's there's I don't know if you guys heard of a YouTube channel called Mauler. He is
Yes, I've
quite
heard of him.
known for his really, really, really long Star Wars critiques. He
Yeah.
has a
I've not watched his channel, but I've seen him. I've seen stuff about him on Twitter and
yeah,
Star Wars
I
Twitter.
think he has a 16-hour critique of the first movie,
Yeah,
which
that's a
is
lot.
overkill, but he has good points in it. I'm
Yeah,
just bringing that up because for the last movie he did a unbridled rage episode, which is like it's not critical, it's not well formed, it's just funny unbridled rage, right? And instead of calling it MacGuffin, someone in his podcast called it a MacMuffin. So through the entire video, he just says MacMuffin. which I find really funny.
That is funny. That is funny. I mean, the thing
Jesus,
Yeah,
is,
they spend
oh
like
dear. I
8 minutes
used to,
per minute. You must
well,
spend like
Rob,
8 minutes per minute of the film.
Rob, before I forget,
Yeah,
do you remember Luke that we used to work with at
yeah,
Maplin?
yeah.
Yeah, I would half the conversations I would talk to him on the shop floor were about films and that this scene's a MacGuffin in that film. That's a MacGuffin in that. We just talk about MacGuffins for ages.
yeah.
Absolutely wild, but yeah, it's just really funny that you could actually mistake it for a hamburger at McDonald's if you're not
Yeah.
too careful. But there you are.
You
I
made me
mean,
fancy McMuffin.
there is a MacGuffin in both the fourth and sixth episode, which is the plans for the Death Star.
Mm.
But it's not plot driven. It's not driving the plot, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But if you look in episode six, I mean, no, episode nine, on these fucking holocrons, which they're not, because holocrons are supposed to contain Sith secret techniques and like rituals and stuff, but it's just a map, so
Mm,
it's not really a holocron. But yeah, it's it's pivotal, like it's plot driving these
mm,
holocrons. But it's so much better. It's so well done in
mm,
the original trilogy,
mm.
but in this movie, it's just like everything revolves around these McMuffins.
McMuffins. That's going to be the running joke, gentlemen. I think we're gonna have to bring this stream. It almost seems so properly because we were having so much fun.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna have to bring it to a close. But this is what I would say. I think I plan to do this as like a two-part episode, but to be honest, I think it might have to be a trilogy now. Um, I
I
just
can
think
keep talking. I can keep talking.
yeah, just because I think there's a lot more to cover that, and we've covered quite a lot, but there's a lot
Mm,
more to cover.
yeah,
So if you guys are happy, we will arrange in a few weeks to do a part three. Are you guys happy to do
Yeah, we
sure.
haven't got to that 16-hour mark yet.
that? Okay, so we'll do a part three, which is because this has been another banger of an episode. So much fun.
Yeah,
And I hope the guys at home, and guys and girls, and a lot of the people that will watch this channel will watch it later on because a lot of the guys are in the US and they watch it quite late. So on the Red 5 network. So I hope you guys and girls at home, especially Star Wars fans, geeks and nerds, have enjoyed another fabulous episode with Richard and Rob. A lot of Star Wars lore, canon, and knowledge. A lot of fun and a lot of banter as well, as you would get with the boys. The boys get together, we have a laugh.
yeah.
Um, and Richard looks like a beautiful, handsome supermodel of a man. And we're happy the world has been blessed and graced by your beautiful appearance, sir. So there you go.
But now you're making it awkward.
There you go. Um, so, yes, Rob, always looking handsome as well. Maybe not the handsomest fellow on there. Normally you are, but you've been going to second place now. And there you go. And I'm blessed because my wife married me because I'm black, because she likes black guys. So there you go. So I'm okay. So
Oh my god!
Tough times.
there you are. Well, my wife will laugh at that one. She'll love that one, but it's actually true. But there you go. So on that note, on
No,
that note,
I'm
Earlier,
dying.
earlier he said he didn't get jokes. Now look at him.
he got that one straight away. Oh, God. Both of you guys are legends. Great episode again. An absolute treat for the guys on Red 5 and the fans that will be watching this episode later. I have been
Yeah.
your host, Christian Fandom Geek. These guys have been handsome and beautiful, and we'll be back again very soon with a new episode of Part 3, A Morality of Star Wars on
I
Red
was
5
never here.
Fandom Geek. Oh, yeah.